Would you like to know when to use scarcity persuasion technique and when not to? Because it's possible to backfire. We've all seen examples of false scarcity, and we can think of a few. This is where, for example, famously, the software for selling information products called Gumroad, they allow you to put a limited supply on information products. So, for example, you could say, famously, 9 left, 9 ebooks left. Do you see the problem there? Do you see the issue with an ebook? Okay, I think you do. That sort of scarcity is a false scarcity. So there is this idea that the more limited in supply a given item is, the greater the demand. That's not exactly the case. So this is more false scarcity. This is supply versus demand, is supply side economics, demand side economics. Does the supply of something like the automobile with an internal combustion engine, does the supply of it itself create demand? Well, if superior to the horse, then yes, because they're not demanding a car, they're demanding superior transportation, more reliable transportation, more weather-friendly transportation, less maintenance transportation. So in that case, it's really the demand that's in control. So supply versus demand can get a little funky in that regard. The existence of something like Bitcoin, the supply of 21 million Bitcoin, well, ought not that create demand? Well, demand for Bitcoin creates demand for Bitcoin. There are people who read the original Bitcoin white paper published 15 plus years ago now by the so-called Satoshi Nakamoto character, which is probably 2 or 3 people. Some living, some dead, both dead. Who knows? Wink, wink. And those who got it with a peer-to-peer cashless payment system outside of central banking that doesn't require fiat currency or government intervention, oversight, or approval, I'm game. So the superiority of Bitcoin relative to fiat money, because it's inflation proof, meaning the supply of it's not going to get inflated past 21 million Bitcoin, there were initial believers who believed Bitcoin was the future. The first and best demonstration of blockchain technology. Okay? So there's an initial demand for it because it's a supply of something that is superior to what there's currently demand for. Does that make sense? So now it also makes sense why it doesn't matter that there's 9 left because, well, the supply is technically infinite, so it's not really 9 left. That's kind of a lie. So lie-based scarcity does not work in any marketing, sales, or persuasion or manipulation context. It doesn't even work in manipulation, okay? Not at all. There's a slight variation of the 9 left method where people will say there's 9 left at 50% off, which is more so the seller's way of saying, I would like to sell 18 at full price, but I settle with 9 because I probably wasn't going to sell 18, much less any, so I need to run a quick sale, which now proves to my consumers that the original price is not the real price. Half off is the real price, and I'll probably want to run one of these sales again soon, like next Friday. That is the issue with false scarcity, particularly when trying to manipulate people. My client Noah Ravoy, who is the author of a fantastic book called Become Immune to Manipulation, points out the difference between persuasion and manipulation. See, persuasion is where you're offering something someone else wants in exchange for something that you want, and it's a trade where both of you feel like you got the better deal because you want what they have and they want what you have. So it's an even trade where you both win something. Not about maintaining, it's not about neutral, not an even swap. It's you both win above and beyond if you had not engaged in the transaction. Manipulation is that, but you trick the other person and then they find out that they've lost or they just lose, right? It's threatening punishment, for example. Do this or bad things will happen to you. That's manipulation, certainly. But deceit, false scarcity, people feel manipulated if you run one of these 9 off sales extravaganzas and then they see that they got the last one, and then you're running it a couple of days from now. And, well, that's not cool, obviously. Returning to supply versus demand, understand that there is a more useful model, a more useful theory called jobs to be done. Jobs to be done goes like this. Customers buy tools to get jobs done. They choose the tool they perceive to be the highest value relative to alternatives, and there are three forms of value: functional, emotional, and financial value. This works better than anything else. I feel great about it because how much it costs, I could afford the best, or I feel good enough because it's okay price. What this does is it hollows out the middle. This is barbell pricing, and that's what we're seeing across industries, where people either want the used Prius or the brand spanking new Porsche. Okay, the absolute best performance money can buy. I have a Porsche, you don't. I win, you suck. Great book on this by Thomas J. Miller called Call Your Shots. Or I want the best that I could afford. I feel okay about driving a Prius because gas mileage, blah, 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 blah. Cheap, 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 cheap. Toyota, cheap, great for the price. Emotionally satisfying. Good enough's good enough for what I could afford. Obviously, there are more cars available than just the Porsche or the Prius, but this is a low-resolution framework that does work, for the most part, across industries, including probably in your industry. So if you understand what job people are trying to get done, then you understand what tool you can create and sell them, and you now understand how scarcity plays into it. Because a tool that doesn't work really well, if it's scarce, that does not increase the demand for it. For example, low-budget ghostwriters, low-cost ghostwriters. With the creation and the launch of ChatGPT at $20 a month, where people are using that to ghostwrite, I should say, and then they're editing the output and lying about the copyright law, because that's what they do, saying, oh, this is mine, I wrote this, I own the copyright. Well, if it's generated by AI, okay, no, it wasn't. But they're going to lie about it because this is what they do. Then there's no place for low-price ghostwriters anymore. The demand decreases. It's no longer scarce. Do you see how that works? So even though there's only one of you as a freelance ghostwriter, that doesn't mean anything. What automatically creates scarcity? I learned this from Michael Gimmerin. Follow Michael Gimmerin on X. Guimarin. Consider Googling him on YouTube. YouTubing him on Google, YouTubing, whatever. You'll see a bunch of his stuff on my channel, my other channel, Joshua Lisec. He points out that what automatically creates scarcity to limit the supply of it is jacking up the price. Porsche. $2,000 handbags. Why? Because most people can't afford a $2,000 handbag or a Porsche. So the fact that scarcity is created by the price, so long as it is something that does the thing, like it is a suitable, capable, long-lasting handbag, and it's a car that works really well and has the best engine relative to car size and smoothness and silence inside the car and all the things people love about Porsche and its maneuverability and how it can really put some pep in your step from a driver's perspective, it is superior value. You don't want to buy a $2,000 handbag and it's worse than something that's made or as good as something from Walmart, okay? We understand this. So it's got to be great. It has to be superior in function because it does something that people want to do. I need a handbag that works for years. I want a sports car because it's that season of my life. Okay? I think you understand this part now. Therefore, a way to leverage the persuasion technique called scarcity, what would happen? I'll throw you this. What would happen if you 10x'd your price today? You're a services-based entrepreneur, services-based business person. What if you increased your price by a factor of 10? Now, you obviously, and I don't like using adverbs because they're called bad verbs. Journalists and politicians use them to lie. They'll say Biden literally said, followed by something he did not say. They'll say Trump basically meant, when it is obvious from context, it is not what he meant. So understand, when I say this, I mean it. I'm breaking my own rule. I'm breaking the Lisec bad verb rule here because it's this important. If you are competent and you're capable and your handbag is better than Walmart's, your Porsche is faster than the Prius, better handling, better all the things people love a Porsche for. You can tell I don't own a Porsche. I have multiple clients who do, like Porsche collections, Porsche garages, okay? If you are capable and competent and you get the job done, you can appeal to scarcity persuasion simply by 10xing your price. You see how that works? You immediately eliminate the supply of something because most people can't buy it. They just can't. It is now a status purchase. Status good, status service, right place, right time. Right place, right time. You'll notice how this deceptive language was recently used in the presidential election, where there was alleged a threat to democracy, and this is the last chance you have, or it's going to be the end of the world. This is what politicians say every 2 years, every 4 years, or every 6 years. Congressional, presidential, and Senate candidates, respectively, because that's how long their terms are in the United States. And it's not just U.S., it's Canada, it's India, it's elsewhere. They'll make these promises and they'll say, this is our last chance. Last chance to defend this right. Last chance to make the other guys and gals pay for their crimes. That sort of 9 left election persuasion, we saw an awful lot of that. But now as you're going into the next season of our civilization, the next stage of life, your life, planning for the future, you're thinking, how can I make the most of this? Well, flip it. How can you make the least of this? How can you leverage scarcity, the elimination of availability of something, simply by 10xing the price? What would happen if you did that? What would happen if it worked? Well, the first thing would happen is you would regret having not done it sooner. Because you'd think about the most recent services package that you sold, and the one that you just sold at 10x, and you thought, what if I could have 10x that? I could have 10x my income. I could have. You will be filled with a lot of regret, but that's okay. Because there's even more regret not 10xing your prices now. And this assumes and presumes a little bit much. Okay, we're assuming and presuming that you are capable and competent. Okay, we expect you to be able to deliver a Porsche, not a hoopty, for Porsche prices. Okay, but what a lot of services-based entrepreneurs and people whose work that they put their heart and soul into, they sell, they tend to undercut their value because most people can't afford it beyond pizza prices, meaning like what people can afford a pizza, taking family out to pizza, even extended family reunion type of prices. Beyond that, most people can't afford it. And then they feel bad because I feel like everyone should have this. Everyone should have access to this because my services work so well. So I need to price it for everyone. If you're a Porsche, not a Prius, you're manipulating yourself. You're creating wins for other people at your loss, at your expense. We want persuasion, not manipulation. Use Gumroad by all means, but don't lie about 9 left. And also, don't lie to yourself. They say 9 left, I say there should be 1 left, and that 1 is you.